Evening, folks. I was just waiting to be flipped over to my rightful position there.
Sorry, me and Stephen were being arseholes
you're right.
backstage here. I kept on
Do you
removing
usually-
them for the stream and that.
Do you usually get flipped over for your right position, Ross?
This is a bad start. Anyway, evening, everyone, and welcome along to the Endless Celts Podcast. It's Friday night, and we're here to talk a wee bit of Scotland to start with, and then we'll move into the usual Celtic stuff. Just want to say welcome along to everybody in the comments. Jed's in first there, I see. Missed what he said. Somebody took it down too quick. Ross is the driver.
I'm on the comments tonight, just so everyone knows.
5 and drive, Jed. 5 and drive. We'll start off. I haven't hosted for a wee while, so I'll bring back the Super 6 results. I know it wasn't on last week, but everybody's been sort of missing it out, and I've been rather disappointed and like quietly raging about it. Nah, I'm joking, but obviously the top 5, Franny is at the top still.
Still?
He did, aye. He's not going to count at the end because he's part of the podcast team, so he's not going to be the winner. He's not going to receive the prize. That's just not how it is. We'll need to discuss a prize, by the way. We've not done that yet, but I'm thinking something along the lines of a wee Endless Celts mug or something. Nothing fancy, you know, a signed photo of me or that.
Like a tub of Vaseline or something.
Vaseline.
Vaseline. But aye, so we've got Franny on 381. Doesn't count. Stephen Coulthard is on 359. Then we've got Mark Robertson on 356. James Bowie 347. And Jamie Latimer on 343. So it's, other than Franny, it's quite compact there. I'm coming up their tails. Oh my God, this is not going well. I'm coming up their tails and getting flipped into my favourite position.
That's what happens in a
How do you take the keys out of this? I'm getting it. Just abandoning it.
That's what happens on a Friday night. That's what happens.
From sunny Falkhouse.
Try to work at that picture.
How we doing, mate?
Who it is.
What you saying, Franny?
I was trying to work at that picture there, but I can't work out who
Aye,
it is.
I know. I can't. Don't know either. Can you get it back up? Oh my God.
Well.
So many innuendos, man. I think I know.
I don't. I'm not sure. But anyway, welcome along, mate. Nice to have you in the comments. Before we get started into the real stuff, I'll do, obviously, the pleasantries. Our show sponsor, you'll see either side, Sharna Apparel Clothing. You'll see it in the description below. You'll get a 10% discount if you just follow what's in the description below. Go into the site, have a look. I've had a wee look myself. I've not actually bought anything yet, but I have got my wee BDI on the khaki hoodie. It's got the wee star on it. It's not got any writing across it or that, but it's a really nice hoodie. Maybe I'll save up my pocket money for the next year. And maybe I'll be able to buy it, but we'll see what happens. But aye, get on it because there's some nice stuff on it. And they've actually, but I noticed they brought out a new, I think it's like a summer range. There's some t-shirts. They're more like lighter colours, light blues and pinks and that. And they obviously you see Stephen's top, the writing's quite big on the front there, but the new stuff, it's just a wee one on the sort of bib, if you like. So get on it and get yourselves involved in the discount.
No chance.
It's a double XL. Double XL. Just for the muscles, nothing else.
Fucking, it's an eider down.
It's a tent. I use it as a tent at night. Hook it up. Get the wee fire going.
Right, so we'll get into it anyway. We'll start off. Obviously, it was the international break, so we'll start off with Scotland. They started their Euro 2024 campaign. 2 wins, 5 goals, 0 conceded. Norway dropped points. As starts go, Franny, you couldn't have written a better script, could you?
No, certainly not. I mean, I appreciate it's also 2 home games. You've got to try and win all of them. I suppose against Spain, that maybe you're maybe before the game or before the group saying if you can take into that fixture at home, it's maybe a bonus. But no, you can't ask for a better start, Ross, like you said, with the two wins and then Norway dropping points to, was it Moldova?
No, Moldova. Georgia.
There's me.
Excuse me.
The Glory Hunter coming out, can't remember who's on our group. But as I said, never denied that. So I'm all in the know, but I suppose if some negative results go away, I'll be thinking international football shite again. But certainly it's been a great start with some top performances. Well, McTominay's the obvious one, but obviously McGinn again just turns up. Stevens, man, I mean, Porteous, what you guys say about the guy? Guy was ridiculous the 2 games, absolutely ridiculous. And Grant Hanley as well, guys like that. And Angus Gunn was a wee surprise. Obviously, we didn't know much when with him coming in, but I think as starts go, it's probably up there with the best, if no one of them that Scotland. So certainly in recent years, anyway, probably the best starting.
Well, as their best. I think it's the first time they've won their opening game in, I can't mind how many years, but it's a long time. But then to back that up and go and beat Spain, you like you said, you look at that game and you're thinking that's not a free hit as such, because you're at home, you're looking to take a point. I think at best, I was hoping for a point, and I really believe we could get that. But to go out and play the way we did, I think you look back at, like say when we beat France, the home and away, we've beat Italy, we've beat Holland down the years, but all of the games were like 1-0 and it was backs to the wall. It was really, really defensive. This Scotland team are far better, in my opinion. They're a better team than any of the Scotland teams that won the games before, that done it backs to the wall. Scotland, and I know Spain are in transition, but when we were able to, we kept the ball, for me, really well, used it really well. They all looked composed on the ball, and like you say, Ryan Porteous, I thought, Stephen, I'll come to you. You've been a fan of Porteous, looking for Celtic to bring him in, and I still maintain that I'm not sure that he would be good enough for Celtic. I think him moving to England is probably better for him. It gets him away from all the shite, because he's got this sort of name with the refs and stuff. I think that he's, and the company probably maybe keeps in Edinburgh. I'm not totally 100% sure on that, but I think to move down south was the right move for him. But in terms of the 2 games, I thought he was absolutely outstanding for Scotland. What did you? I don't know if you've seen the 2 games, or was it just the Spain game you watched?
I watched the Spain game and I caught up with the highlights of the Cyprus game. Obviously, know what we were going to speak about it, but like Franny, I can't deny me in international football have a dodgy relationship. Sometimes I'm interested, sometimes I'm not. But see, to be fair, I remember when Gordon Strachan came in as Scotland manager, and when he got sacked, I was quite shocked because he was doing well. I think he had a good run. And then when they went on a bit of a lull, and then they got Steve Clark in, took him a while to obviously implement his style. But one thing you do notice with the team, like you said, Ross, it's a team for the Premier League players, mixed in with the best players from Celtic, mixed in with Champions League winners as well. So it's not like you can go and be like, there's no quality here, or they're playing with bog standard SPFL players or whatever. I mean, you look at Porteous, for example, case in point, he was excellent against Spain. I thought he was just going to just lay it all out there on the pitch and go to sleep. He was just an absolute menace. He tortured their strikers. Big Hosaloo who come on. Or did he go off? And he cried about everything. And then Bhoys come on the second half. But Porteous for me, like I know I banged the drum for him at Celtic. Some of it was a bit lighthearted as well, just to have a wee bit of a laugh at you guys. But I always saw it in my eyes that the quality he had with playing with Hibs. I mean, he played alongside Hanlon. He was coming up and coming player, learning off him. Broke into the Scotland setup while he was still with Hibs. And you look at Kobayashi, you look at Starfelt, and I look at it and be like, Porteous could probably fit in there somewhere if we had to take the chance. I think, like Kobayashi, like when we're saying Kobayashi, he could have played maybe 2 or 3 games in that period like he done. You know, you look at the differences between him and Welsh. So it's all about boosting that defence, and I definitely do think Porteous could do that. I mean, if you look at the team in general, the Scottish team, the goals against Cyprus, there was the second goal, I believe, Ryan Christie closed the ball down and ran for it like his life depended on it. It was going to go out. He kept it in, crossed it in, and I think McTominay finished it off. He was brilliant, by the way, and all these rumours about him going to Sevco. I don't want that happening. I don't want him to go there alone because he was sublime. I know there's question marks. I know he was used at a back three before and all that type of stuff, but his position's midfield. He's just a box-to-box midfielder. He's excellent on the ball. I still don't understand why they play like John McGinn on the right-hand side of like a forward three, so to speak, but like Christie or whatever. I like McGinn in the midfield because I think he can add a lot there, but again, I can't really say nothing. He scored a cracking goal against Cyprus. I think that's 15 Scottish goals or 16 he has, and he's been excellent. I really love Aaron Hickey. I think Aaron Hickey is a fantastic player, and the fact as well, they've morphed him into right back, and he plays in Italy for Bologna at left back, and that's his natural position. But he just looks so. Oh, Brentford. Sorry, he did. He went to Brentford. My bad. But he went there in the summer. What am I talking about? Just thinking about his performances in Serie A. But he's so composed on the ball. He's deceivingly quick. He has a good delivery. And then against Spain, like I know you said there, Spain are obviously going through transition. But in the 95th minute, our captain Cal McGregor takes the ball, rips off Gavi like he wasn't there, and nearly set up Shankland for a goal. And I think Shankland, that was a tired shot, in my opinion. I thought he could have done so much better. I think he just lost the puff when he got there because he only came on. And I don't like this whole conception. Rodri coming out being like, they're boring, they play rubbish football. At the end of the day, you play what you're up against. You have to find a way to beat teams like that. And so what if Scotland are a bit dogged and a bit rough and get in your face? They're not going to let you play football. They're not going to let the likes of Ceballos, whoever it may be on the ball, just have time and be like, oh, I'll pick out Hosley up front for a goal, make it easy like that. No, you get stuck in. And I thought the Hampden crowd, I text you guys watching it, I was surprised. It was absolutely mental. It was rocking the place, and it was just good seeing the nation come together, so to speak. And it was, I mean, for an international campaign, 2 games, 6 points, top of the group, aren't they, by 1, I think? Or by 2, maybe? So 3, aye. So Steve Clark's done an incredible job. And McGrand will tell you in the comments, but when Rodgers left, I kind of wanted Steve Clark, and before Rodgers as well, I was saying Steve Clark because of what he done in the Premier League with West Brom, and always I like the way he played on the counter. And I know people find it boring, but seeing you're hitting teams like with a pace that Scotland hit Spain, then you know what I mean. But yeah, excellent performance, excellent management, done the right substitutions at the right time, and a great start to the Euro qualifying campaign.
So just touching on the way, like Rodgers' comments, I think it's like I like that for Scotland. There was a wee bit of the dark arts involved in that. They were slowing the game down at the right time and stuff. They might have been going down a wee bit easy with challenges, and then running the clock down a bit. When you're up against, like you say, I know Spain, only the Spain for a few years ago, but they're still Spain at the end of the day. They've still got top players in their team, guys that have won Champions Leagues and La Liga titles and Premiership titles and that. So there's top players. So they've got to sometimes do things to upset the game and stuff. And especially when you're up 2-0, you'll see many teams will do it. They do that thing where they will slow a game down. They don't want an opposition team to get any momentum and stuff. So I loved the comments for Roger and because I was sitting going, that's what you want for a Scotland going forward, is doing things like that. And Stevens,
well, it's not even that as well. They back it up with quality. Like,
I know that's
what I was going to say.
I agree with you there. Like all the players in the team, like guys that are playing in the EPL with better players against better players, and everybody wants to turn. There's hardly any pullouts of the squad. Everybody seems to turn up, whether that be friendlies or the qualifiers. I know they didn't really play much friendlies now because this Nations League, but rarely do you hear anybody pulling out with me niggle injuries and stuff. Everybody wants to turn up. Everybody wants to play. And if only Callum McGregor had that ball and no Stuart Armstrong or the years ago in Wembley and didn't give the ball to Harry Kane.
Oh, aye. I know, eh? By the way, just touching on what you've said there, like, I agree with you that, like, Scotland did, in the second half, I don't think they were throwing themselves to the ground constantly and time wasting and being like that. I think
they managed the game well.
When they managed the game really well, but when the opportunity was there to go down, because they did go down genuinely, right? They went down genuinely, but obviously when they're down, you milk it a wee bit, you stay down a wee bit longer, you pull out your socks, all the rest of it. But at the same time, like I said earlier, any time Scotland got the ball and they had the opportunity to go and try and play, there was no fear. They done that. They went and played. They passed the ball because that's.
Well,
we've got players like
goal for that.
I know,
had a great opportunity.
Unbelievable. That's what I touch on as well. That run for Tierney was absolutely phenomenal. That was the Tierney old, right? I'll come to you, Stephen, on Tierney. For me, like I say, that was the Tierney old. Obviously, we've not seen a great deal of it this season at Arsenal. Injury woes, stuff like that, and then obviously they brought in Zinchenko. It's been difficult for him to get into the team. I don't know. I think on his game, Tierney is one of the best left backs in world football. Zinchenko is probably a tidier football player than Tierney, but in terms of work rate, defensive quality, and that doesn't come close to Tierney. But do you think, obviously, touching his performance the other night against Spain, Stephen, and in terms of his Arsenal career, do you think he needs to move away from Arsenal, or do you think he can break back into the team, or do you think if he stays injury free for long enough, he'll be able to break back into the team?
Well, I mean, first of all, Alistair with a great point here, Ross, the flash point with Robertson. I thought 100% he was lucky. Very lucky not to get the red, but again, the luck went that way with VAR. We wouldn't see that for us in the SPFL. But regarding like Tierney, I mean, you look at him and he had that hip injury for years when he left us and joined Arsenal. It kind of come up now and then, like a flexor or whatever it's called. And I think Man City must be kicking themselves, to be honest. They give Arsenal Jesus and Zinchenko, and they're going to win the league basically with them in the team. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's madness. It's madness of things like that happen. But I think for Tierney, I think his time in Arsenal's done, unless they make him into that third centre half again, like Steve Clark's managed to do with Robertson on the left back and Tierney making them run some deep. Because from what you've seen of him against Spain, that run, he took Carvajal to the dentist and back again. He stopped, faded away, moved, and he was gone from a 4-time Champions League winner, La Liga winner, left him for dirt. And you know, that's a Kieran Tierney we loved watching for Celtic. And you look at all the made up dreams about him coming back to Celtic, and I can't see that. And I think I said it in another podcast, and I don't really believe that we have the financial capability. And also, I like my wee Gregory there at the minute. You know, Gregory's doing a job, like. And as long as he stays injury free, I'll be happy. But going to, I know there's rumours about Newcastle and stuff like that. If he wants to team up with Eddie Howe and the project they're building, I think that could suit him down to the ground. I think they're playing like Dan Byrne at left back at times, and he's an out and out centre back. So I could see him moving on, and it's not no fault of his own. I hear people on TalkSport, I hear people on Match of the Day sometimes saying, why is he not getting more game time? Ian Wright loves him, and he's an Arsenal legend. He wants him to get more game time, and sometimes injuries play a part in your career not working out at the club. I mean, it did work out at the start. Let's be fair, he was fantastic, but it's took a hold of him, and maybe it was the fact that we played him and over relied on him at points as well, catching up with him that young in his career. So that's probably played a big part in it. And I remember him talking on Open Goal with Cy Ferry and Slaney, and he was so honest about this whole Celtic situation and how sad it made him, and you believe that, you can feel it's genuine. And I want him to do the best. I want him to win more league trophies. I want him to win Champions Leagues. I want him to do whatever he wants in his career, because he's a Celtic legend in my eyes. And it's like, is he Bundesliga, La Liga? I think he could fit into most top teams in the world. I think he could play for Madrid, no problem. I think he could play for a Bayern Munich, no problem. So, I mean, it's up to him where his next move's going to be. And one thing he'll be sure of, lots of clubs will be after.
Aye, like just what you're saying there, I agree. I think he can play for most top clubs, but then you look at it and you're like, how can he not get into this Arsenal? He is back. Obviously, he's went off. He's not 100% fit, but he is back, sort of fit. But you look at it and we've talked about Zinchenko there. Even I think, is it Tommy Asu? I think he plays out there.
He's right back. He plays right back.
He's right back
as well.
Aye, but you've seen him filling in, but I don't know if it's because Tierney has been injured at the time, or if he's going with Tommy Asu over Tierney. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Did Arteta sign Tierney, or was it?
No, I think it was the Spanish boy.
Emery.
Emery.
Aye. What's your kind of thoughts on?
I think that's a good shout.
Don't be surprised. I think I think he'll end up at Newcastle. To be honest with you, obviously that's what you think as well, Franny. But just tell us what you think. Obviously, Tierney's Arsenal situation and his performance all night.
It's like you said, like injuries this season certainly have they helped him and stuff, and obviously the form of Zinchenko. And I think maybe Zinchenko's a better footballer, I think, than Tierney. And you see Arsenal want to play that sort of inverted fullback as well, and maybe Tierney's just maybe struggling to adapt to that. Maybe it'll take time and to sort of convert into that sort of inverted fullback. It seems that that's the way Arteta likes playing. You see, Zinchenko seems to pop up in the middle of the park a lot and stuff. So I think right now Zinchenko's better suited to that style. And we see it as well when you flip it to Celtic. It's like if a team's winning, you rarely change players. And Arsenal they're beating everybody in the now and stuff. So it's hard to then justify taking a player out, and especially a defender. It's one of the positions you rarely change. You usually stick with your back four and keep it as consistent as you can. But I think I would like to see him stay at Arsenal. I don't want folk thinking it's not worked out for him, but sometimes these things happen. Like Newcastle, I think would be a great move from. I understand the Man United ones, but they've got. I mean, he's a lot better player than Luke Shaw. But they also signed a young left back, a Dutch boy, which you might find Derek Ten Hag might favour the young Dutch guy. He's maybe just bedding him in a wee bit, and he might find it hard to get in the Arsenal team. It's like you say, Ross, Zinchenko was signed by Arteta and Tierney, wasn't he? So it's a guy that Zinchenko was clearly a player that it was clearly a player that Arteta wanted, even though Tierney had a good couple of seasons before Arteta came in, and Atletico Madrid probably would be a good fit. So it's one of them. Sometimes the manager. It's not that the manager doesn't necessarily fancy. It's just the manager didn't sign him, and it could be just something like that. It's just it wasn't Arteta.
Just styles.
Styles as well.
Yeah.
I understand the Newcastle move. I think that would be a great move for him.
I mean, I'm not a fan of Newcastle, as you well know. But I mean, for them, if they got Tierney and they had Trippier and Tierney on either side, that's a really good two really top fullbacks. But I know what you're saying, obviously, about the inverted fullback sort of playing that at Arsenal, and Zinchenko, he probably does play that better. It was reported, I think it was the last time Scotland got together, I think Taylor was in the squad, and I think Tierney had been picking his brains on the inverted fullback, so that sort of pays to that comment, Franny. And obviously, he's maybe trying to. He's maybe trying to learn that, but if he's not getting game time,
it's hard,
you've seen it with Greg Taylor. He didn't know that position, but constant game time, playing it all the time. He's got up to speed with it, and he's really nailing it down to the point where Kieran Tierney's picking his brains, which is mental. But Arsenal, I've not got like a second team, but Arsenal's my preference. An English team, I would love to see him staying there, but for further his career, I think he'd probably be better moving away. And if that's Newcastle or whoever else, I think he could add to most teams. Not if I see a t-shirt I like, but that's off, Cheers, mate. The new Celtic trainers.
Terrible.
I think the new Celtic trainers are absolutely fucking watching, man.
It's just that, put any football badge on any trainers, I think you're in bother, man.
Really bad. Really.
I think as well with Tierney and them shoes, by the way, are shite. I agree with you on that. I mean,
it's just as soon as you've got a football crest on a pair of trainers. Nah.
I know it's another market employed by the geniuses at Adidas for Celtic, but they're terrible.
They'll probably sell it.
100%, yeah. But in regards to Tierney, like Brown said there, Brown Warrior in the comments, maybe injuries might bring him back to Celtic. I still don't see that either. I think he'll want to
back in a heartbeat.
Aye, of course. Like, but you look at his situation. What is he? 26, isn't he? Approaching that age, or
is he?
Aye. So I think he'll probably be looking for a top league game, whether it's the Premier League or the La Liga, Serie A. You never know, but he's an excellent player.
He's coming into his prime. I expect if Tierney, I think he probably will come back to Celtic at some point. Well, if he comes back and he's like 30, you've maybe got a good couple of years out of him. But if he's coming back at like 34, something like that, I'm not wanting him to come back then, because he've just ruined whatever legacy he had created beforehand. But the last player I want to talk about is Cal McGregor. He starts the 2 games, right? For me, he wasn't like an absolute standout performer. He didn't get the goals like McTominay. He wasn't as obvious like Porteous in the Spain game, because we were probably doing a bit more defending. But there was Steve McLaren, I was going to say, Steve Clark. He changes the team. Okay, he changes the team. Obviously, he's more attacking. You spoke earlier, Stephen, about McGinn getting played on that right hand side of the 3. But in the Cyprus game, he played further forward because Armstrong was in the team. But then Christie comes into the team and he drops back, and Christie goes into that role. It makes us more defensive against Spain. But Cal McGregor, there was a couple. Ryan Jack played in the first game. McTominay comes in the second game. But Cal McGregor's the mainstay. He's the mainstay at Celtic, and he's the mainstay at Scotland. As I say, it was quietly effective, but he's in that team. He's just a really fantastic player, and I think obviously Steve Clark recognises that. What did you think of his performance the other night, Franny? Over the 2 games, actually.
Well, obviously the Cyprus game, I thought it was really good, and on his 50th cap as well for Scotland, got the armband for it and things like that. And then,
was he captain that game? I didn't even realise that.
I think obviously Robertson had said to him leading up to it that they would give him the armband. And then obviously I think he actually got man of the match in that game as well. So
I've talked pish. He wasn't quiet, was he?
The Spain game, I will give you, it was a wee bit quieter, but then that was a game. It's because I think, is that down to McTominay's 2 goals? You remember the goals more than maybe more the performance and things like that, it's just natural. I think for me with McGregor, it's maybe just me. I feel he goes under the radar in the sense that you take these performances for granted, I think, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And I'm guilty of it, because he's probably an 8 out of 10 every week for Celtic, minimum 8 out of 10. But it could be something amazing. You're like, this is Callum McGregor, it's what he does. It's like that, like as silly as it sounds, that run in the last minute. It just as we drop us, we change the pace to get away from Gavi, then he plays. He's still got the whereabouts to play that pass, and it's like to still have that. Like, he must be mentally drained as well. Like, it's 180 minutes he's played in the space of 4 or 5 days and stuff. I appreciate he's not had much travelling because both games are at home, but just to have that ability to still play the right pass, do the right thing at that level, it's just. I didn't credit the guy enough, to be honest. It's just the guy and I think not every Celtic fan, but I think a lot of us take the guy for granted.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. That's sort of what I was going to come to Stephen with that. Wasn't expecting you to be as insightful, Franny, but there you go.
he's won. That's it.
Nah, you've hit the nail on the head.
I had to up my game getting on a Friday. I had a lot to live up to for these boys.
Nah, but you're bang on. Like, he doesn't get the credit. He doesn't get the credit he deserves, because he just brings it every single game. But Stephen, I know you didn't see the Cyprus game, so you can just talk about how he played in the Spain game, and just him, like, his season so far. Obviously, Hatate and Moyer getting the plaudits, but Cal McGregor, he just goes quietly and does the business all the time.
Lanky came in with a great comment, if I can find it. Cal Mac is quiet for Scotland, but he puts in a shift. It's weird how he went back and still control the game, just like what Xavi and Iniesta done for Barca. I think that the myth going around by certain Scully supporters of a certain club is that Cal McGregor didn't perform well. I mean, I remember watching the Spain game. There was at least 3 different times where he intercepted the ball in the box when they put a cross in, and he's passed it away under pressure and basically created a counter attack for Scotland. I think you look at McGregor and you've got McTominay, you've got McGinn. They're the ones who are always going to stand out no matter what. They're the ones attacking more or less all the time. McGregor's a guy starting off the moves with a pass to the left, a pass to the right, or a forward pass as well. And he's so underrated. He's so undervalued, underappreciated by everybody. Like, I mean, not Celtic fans in general, but you look at his play, the style of play. He could take the ball with like 6 people around him and manage to find a wee gap to get a pass off. And it's that leadership, that kind of quality that you need in that centre midfield, especially for European football, international, domestic. It all ties into one. And you look at him for Celtic as well. I mean, he took over the captaincy role. He had a successful season last season. This season, again, he's carrying that on. He's bringing that leadership to the squad. And every player who signs for Celtic talks about how McGregor's the first one to speak to them, welcome into the club, show them around, get them involved with all the guys and whoever's involved in the back room. And I think, like, for Scotland, it's a weird one because, as I said, against Spain, he was quietly effective. I'm much like what Lanky said there. I totally agree. And I think just because there's other guys who score a goal who are higher up in the pitch, they get more notice. That's grand. But Scotland I don't think they would have found that game as comfortable if McGregor wasn't playing. I just thought he swept up a lot of balls. He was marking players out of the game, whether he wasn't putting sliding tackles in, but he was always in the right place at the right time. The 95th minute run past Gavi, one of the best prospects in European football, basically taught him a lesson that period of time, and the composure to find Shankland on the left-hand side. Do you know what I mean? Lots of players would just hoof that up the pitch. Even probably McTominay, people like that probably would have done that in that situation. So, yeah, for me, he's a legend. He's created that thing for himself. He learned at Notts County. He came back to us. He took his chance and he's ran with it. He's a mainstay for club and country for a reason. And the fact that he played 180 minutes in both games, just 180, just speaks for itself. Do you know what I mean? He's someone Steve Clark trust, Ange trust him. Paddy Lavery, you're dreaming. And it's just someone who should never just be overlooked. He's a guy. He's so important, and he plays for us. He's doing well for Scotland. It's a win-win for everybody.
Aye, I fully agree with that. And I think just to finish on it, the only thing you could say about Cal McGregor is he's a modern day Paul McStay. That's how good he is. He's phenomenal. But I want to thank you just for your nice wee segue, because you were talking about leadership. We're going to go into all things Celtic and move on to I don't know if you've seen it. I tell you, it was on YouTube. It was the Ange leadership interview that he done.
Oh, no, I watched the wrong one. I watched his interview where he was getting asked questions on.
On what?
What?
I watched his post-match interview, or pre-match interview this morning.
His pre-match interview this morning?
Obviously, he was getting asked about the Ross County game and that.
Oh, right.
I watched the presser.
He's came to the Friday Club.
I know.
He's not done nothing. He's rocked up.
No wonder I didn't go on
Friday.
No wonder I'm never on the Friday.
Well, I'll come to Stephen then. But obviously you watched it, Stephen. I thought, for me, it was a really insightful piece on our elite manager. More on how his management style. And I just think at the same time, I think the club putting that out, we spoke about the club acting like a big club, obviously, on and off the park now. And I think in terms of doing that, would you call it media? I'm not sure. But doing that and putting that type of interview out, I think is top drawer. I think that's top drawer for the club. It's like you say, no, everybody's into international football. Some people are totally like just at Celtic and that's it. And you pine for some Celtic sort of, I don't know what the word is. I've lost the word.
Content.
Content. That's it. I was going to say that, and you wasn't right. Celtic content. And for me, this was a really, really good piece. But what did you think of it?
Well, I mean, during this international break, they put out a few things. Ben Summers interviewed today, the youngster. They put out Lennoxtown Unfiltered. We treat a 5 minute kind of glimpse into what happens there. And the ground that does before going to that thing that Postecoglou done was asking why Celtic are still selling off their youngsters. I think that's in relation to Borden, the wee young midfielder going to Villa for like £1.2 million. It's a great we all have. Borden, he's 15. He's in like the youth setup, and it's always happening, Granda. But I mean, don't get me started. I'll be here all night. But in terms of Postecoglou, I mean, he just lets us in every aspect of his life. He's so open. He's so honest with everything he says, and what I loved the whole piece about that was him basically saying to everybody, be true to who you are. Because leadership, whether it's in, for example, work setting in an office or, I don't know, in another job or wherever, sometimes leadership can make a person change. They change their personality to suit that role or whatever, to try and be someone else different. And I love the fact that Postecoglou was like, he created his own path. He stuck to his philosophies. He did not change. He didn't waver. And it's what was a bit Jerry McLaughlin asked him about what was your advice on a young coach or aspiring coach, and he just be yourself, be you. I mean, it's what people need to learn in life. Changing for different situations is not what you need to do. Being yourself and being true to who you are will get you through anything. Do you know what I mean? And Postecoglou's been there, he's done it. Listen to the guy speak, and I just thought that the fact that he took time to do that interview over the international period was excellent. It's learning more about him, how his brain ticks, and what he does for Celtic on a daily basis. And Harry Kewell did an interview with Graham Hunter and his podcast. And
I'm going to watch that over the weekend.
Yeah, I've only seen snippets of it, but again, it was excellent. The stuff he was saying, the audio bits I was hearing, and just to have a coaching staff that are front and facing and tell people and talk to people about their experiences is fantastic. And there's so much to take away from it. And it's 25 years plus in a coaching environment, elite professional clubs, and he's just being open and honest about what he done. I just thought it was a great piece and a great bit of content by Celtic Football Club for once. It was brilliant.
Aye, I mean, he talks about, like you've said there, he talks about being authentic, and I think that's been evident, like in the public domain for the word go, that first interview, and obviously the way he's talking, obviously we're no privy to it, but you take his word for it. That's how he is behind closed doors. What are we saying there, Franny? You're getting your arse kicked. Oh, aye, that's him sacked, man. But aye, I think that's what it'll be like behind closed doors with the players and all that there's no grey areas. What you see is what you get. I'm trying to think. I made a couple of notes because it's quite hard to remember when you've watched it. What the kind of things he said, but he was talking about always on about like people and understanding them. And that sort of it's that emphasis. It puts more emphasis on that when he signs like the person first, because he alluded to it in that interview that it's the man, it's the person that you're managing before the player. And I think, like I said, that's always been his sort of mantra for signing players. He talks about how his leadership style has his leadership style has evolved down like I think it's 26 years he's been a manager. Excuse me. But that's evolved and changed as the world has changed, because obviously players, when he first started out, you have to treat them different now. Alex Ferguson with the hairdryer treatment, stuff like that. And I think that it's like similar again. It's like parallels, if you like, when he's talking about his management styles evolved and the team always evolves. We're talking. I mean, we've got to touch on it later, but I'll just go into the new and just come to Franny so he can we bit something to say. But we're talking about the team evolving. That rumours came out today about Hatate possibly going to Brighton. But it is a rumour at the minute. It's no concrete. But it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if he did go, because we're talking about evolving. Him evolving as a manager down the years. The squad is evolving all the time. He said it himself. I mean, what do you think of that rumour so far, Franny? Do you think it's got any legs to it, or?
I'm hoping it's got no legs to it, because I think he's absolutely key for what we do as a team and stuff. You see it when he's not in the team. With the midfield sometimes doesn't move the ball as quick, but I think that could also be put down to I think that O'Reilly and Moy, I don't think work in there together. I think it's got to be one or the other. So that could maybe play a factor in that. But then obviously check the sort of Twitter thing from the person that reported it, and you look at some of the stories, and I'm not saying that person in particular has been bang on, but they've obviously put out some stories that have came to fruition, or there's a lot of weight behind them. So you never know, and obviously you can always go back to Ange's comments at the AGM where he said that we'll be ruthless in the transfer market. Don't fall in love with some of your favourite players. So
Gone anyway.
I know, got it anyway. But it's like, so I suppose when these rumours come out, you can always go, well, he warned us. But you could chuck that at any rumour, I suppose, when he says, don't fall in love with your favourite star players, because we will be selling players. Players will maybe only be here for like a couple of years, then they'll be moved on and stuff. It's how Bessie thinks he can evolve and stuff. So I hope there's nothing of the rumours, but I suppose time will tell. Like Brighton, yeah, they're not as big a club as Celtic, nowhere near it. But anybody that pays attention to the EPL, they're a good club. They seem a well-run club. They obviously lost Graham Potter, and the new guys coming in, he's kind of looks like he's taking them, continued the good work that Graham Potter done, and maybe even taking them on a wee bit. So they're almost like a bit like Southampton about 5-6 years ago, where they bring in guys, they circulate players pretty frequently, usually sell their better players, but always just seem to have a plan to bring somebody in, and it doesn't really affect them too much. It might catch up with them, like I think it's caught up with Southampton. They've just sold one too many of it bringing it in. But right now, I'm not wishing Hatate away, certainly not. But there's a lot worse clubs that could go to than Brighton. I think they play a good style of football for them as well.
Well, I would have to agree with that. The one thing I would say is obviously Brighton are no as big a club as Celtic, which is evident. We all know that.
Aye.
But they're flying high now in the Premier League. But I think Brighton are one of these teams. I might be wrong, but I look at teams like, try to get an example, maybe a Bournemouth, something like that, where under Eddie Howe, they had that sort of season where they were up the higher echelons of the Premier League, if you like. They had an amazing season. Echelons.
I love that word. I say it every day. I don't know why. Love that one.
But they had a really good season. I think maybe Brighton can keep it up, but they seem to me that they could possibly be that club like a Brighton. Maybe that's a bad example. Maybe a better example is Stoke. And I know they're playing a far better type of football than Stoke, but Stoke cemented themselves in the Premier League for a long while, and then all of a sudden they just drop. I think that could happen to Brighton, and I'm not saying that'll happen if Hatate goes, and if he does go there and then in the period of time he's there, that would happen. But it is a danger, because all the time Brighton are selling their better players. They've sold what's his name again? Trossard, Ben White. Obviously Caicedo's going to go in the summer. So it's hard to keep selling the guys and bringing in enough quality to keep yourself at that level in the English Premier League. And that's my worry with Celtic as well, Stephen. I don't know what you think. I like how Ange is up front and honest, and he says, like say, the team will be evolving all the time. Don't fall in love with the players. But my worry is, okay, that's fine. Don't fall in love with it. But if Hatate wants to go, things like that, I don't even know if Hatate does want to go. It's difficult to say. But if we keep selling these, if you like, better players or top players, Giakoumakis, Hatate, Juranovic, okay, it's worked so far. We've brought guys in and we've still kicked on. But could that eventually catch up with you? if you keep selling these guys and trying to replace them, because you're not always going to get that £2 or £3 million player that's going to come in and be that Hatate, be that Giakoumakis. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it is a concern, and the member said that the chat today, Big Willie's on it like a rash. He doesn't believe in rumours and stuff, but I think I always share what I see and with you guys for a talking point and things like that. And Atate, to me, doesn't, again, none of the players looked like they really wanted out the door. Let's be fair. Maybe at a push, Juranovic, we all knew was looking to move away. But what annoys me is the transfer fees getting batted around. Like £8 to £10 million for Hatate, like, and Casero was leaving Brighton for 70 odd million. You tell me there's a big difference in them two players? I don't really think so. But Lanky came in with a great point. Mitomo, the other Japanese player, he's on fire. It's one of Hatate's good friends. So if they start talking and getting ideas, they never what happening. I think in the summer we're going to lose a few, and I'll put my cards on the table now. I think it'll be Hatate, Abada, and possibly one more will be leaving Celtic. And I don't think Postecoglou would have said that at the AGM for no reason. The aggressive transfer model is something Celtic are looking into, and they're doing it quite well at the minute. They've added to the recruitment team again, former Southampton scout. He actually took Van Dijk away from us and things like that. In terms of replacing guys like Hatate and Abada, yeah, because again, you're going to hit a point where you're signing 4 or 5 duds. It's going to happen. There's going to be a time when we get a couple of crap players through the door and we're wondering who picked this guy up, what's going on. Hatate for me, Hatate for me is like, he's the best of the bunch. He's an incredible player. He can do everything you ask him. He can control it. He can score. He can defend. He can beat players. He can run. He can do anything. He's a cracking player, and I think his stock's only going to rise. And the inflated transfer fees are just mind-boggling. Do you know what I mean? 8 to 10 million, and it's mad. And I know Celtic are going to spend about £2 to £3 million to replace him. And I think, like, are we going to get Hatate quality all the time? No. There's hopes of Tomoki Iwata, but he's a different type of player than Hatate. So again, you're losing that. And Franny, you nailed it. Without Hatate in the midfield, there's a noticeable drop in standard and quality. And yeah, O'Reilly's been off the boil. Moyes, yeah, to be fair, but he plays well with Hatate, not with O'Reilly. And it's just like, I don't want to lose them, but I can see it happening. And like he even said, there's a chance Conor McGregor could go. You shared the post today in the group, Ross, about the AC Milan manager waxing lyrical about Conor McGregor. So you never know who has eyes on him, no matter what his age are. I just want to look at the comments here, bring them into play a wee bit. Tim Alloy, agree with Ross. Michael Ross here, keep the side together for a few years or forget progress in Europe. That's a great point. Patrick McLaughlin, Brighton have been superb this season. If they can attract McAllister, they could attract most players. But to be fair, Patrick, McAllister joined Brighton when they weren't really jumping. It was like that season ago, and they weren't high flying or anything. Obviously, he's riding the crest of a wave, winning the World Cup. Lanky 67, I say Conor McGregor, Riona, and Abada. That's the players I think might go. So it's concerning. It's concerning we won't break the bank to replace these players. This is what I say all the time. We need to spend to get better quality, and if we're going to let these guys go, we're not always going to pick up a gem for £1 to £2 million from the J League or from the K League or from the A League in Australia, KJ, fucking whatever. We're not going to do it all the time and get into next season. Like, are we going to be stronger without Hatate and the likes of a? No, I don't think so. And I'm all for the aggressive policy. I love it, as I always reference Brentford is a prime example, but at the same time, we're going into Champions League football next season. We can't be getting in with a player bedding into this system. It would be a concern for me if we do that. And keeping Hatate for this campaign coming at least until January is vital. And it's just, I don't know. These rumours seem to be coming from somewhere. And again, there's no smoke without fire. And that guy, like you said, Franny, most of the stuff he's posted up on Twitter has happened a day or two later, albeit in the transfer windows at that time. But yeah, it's quite concerning.
I mean, I'd have to agree with you. It is very concerning. You're talking about when Hatate isn't in the team, there is a drop-off. There absolutely is. And it's purely because, other than Hatate, McGregor, a push. You take Hatate out of that team, that midfield's not got any legs. Aaron Moy, no legs. He's no absolutely hopelessly slow. like some people say, but he isn't.
Oh, he's
as
slow.
quick.
He's
He's not got the mobility of Hatate, but O'Reilly, he's cute, he's cultured, he's no fast. Cal McGregor, he knows where to be in the park, he's in the right positions. He's not rapid. I know he's went on that run the other night and he took the ball for a run at Ibrox when we were down 1-0 last season by 2 or 3, I think it was a couple of men. So he has got that bursty speed, but over like running guys down in that, you take that out of that team, it's the legs just go. And I agree with you, Stephen. Going into the Champions League next season without Hatate, I think you're pushing into the wind, to be perfectly honest. Honestly, it's quite scary because I think there is legs to this Brighton story. I think it makes sense in terms of Hatate and Brighton. For Celtic, it makes no sense. I think if we hold on to him and he has another season like he's had this season, and he performs to the levels that he performed personally, and in the Champions League, then right now I'd be looking to get 15 million for Hatate. I think he's worth more than that now, but because he's only had a season and a half in Scotland, I think you'd be doing well to get. I know we're going to move on shortly, mate. Don't worry.
But see, to be fair, I know people are thinking we're doom and gloom, but again, we're only saying what we're saying.
Oh,
yeah,
there could be
there could be nothing in this Brighton story, but Ange just said it, and I think it's something we have to realise. We're going to be cutting thrust in the transfer window, and if that's getting rid of your star players, so be it. We move on and we try and get better from that time period. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's doom and gloom. Alistair's telling me to cheer up. Mate, I'm happy as Larry talking with the boys, talking with you lot about Celtic. I'm loving it. And I know we don't like touching upon players leaving, but again, it has to be addressed. It's going to happen. We'll be doing our summer transfer podcast talking about the exact same thing and about all the transfer saga. So why not start now?
Right. And listen, we're doing a podcast. We've got to debate. It's a Friday night. You can't be doing an hour on a Friday night. That's just madness. And Tony's not hosting, so it's me. So we're on for the long haul. But we'll move on for that and try and lift the mood a wee bit. I want to touch on Frank, I'll come to you first. I want to touch on I don't know if it was an approach or if it's just a rumour. I'm not sure. There was a couple of stories about it last week. Obviously, we never really touched on it because the international break was on. But whatever it was, Celtic and Rangers are sort of being linked with this. What is it? Aye, that's 100%. But that's what we're sort of saying. But aye, this Super League, Celtic and Rangers been sort of linked with it, tied to it, whatever approached. I don't know. But I mean, the proposals for the new sort of one, not obviously the one that everybody pulled out of. But the proposals, I understand that it's a 60 to 80 team format, and there's 40. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, right? But 60 to 80 team format, 4 tiers. There's no permanent members, unlike the original format. It's a minimum of 14 European matches per season. So, I mean, that's my understanding. That's the only sort of proposals that I can see anywhere right now. I don't think it's. I don't know if any of you are more aware than me, but I don't think it's a Super League in terms of Celtic and Rangers will break away from Scotland. It'll still be like a European campaign, but it's just a different format. That's my understanding. What's your sort of? Have you got any more to add to that, Franny? And do you think it could be a good thing for us to get involved in?
I would like the morality me to say no, stay away from it, because I was quite consistent with that when it first came round. Obviously, like you've touched on there, the sort of the layout of it, the Super League as what it was then to what they're proposing now has changed a lot. Like you say, there's a lot more teams involved. I think they're talking about promotions and relegation, where before it was sort of a closed shop to was it maybe 12 to 16 teams or something, and that was it. It was, I think two dropped out, but it was by invite. with other teams essentially every season or something like that. So that model wasn't great. But if it's to coincide with what competitions we've already got now, it's when do you fit it in for another 14 games? I know.
Is it going to coincide with like the current like Europa and Champ?
Well, I'm guessing so. I think the Champions
I just assumed that would be done away with, but
the Champions League's reformed on that, so there's more teams coming out the Champions League and things like that. So I don't see them. And like the Super League, to the best of my knowledge, isn't a UEFA sort of a competition. So UEFA's not going to drop the Champions League or the Europa League or Conference League. So I just morally, I would like to say no, but the financial sides of it maybe is one of the ones we maybe need to move with the times a wee bit and stuff. And do we then sacrifice? I think you could maybe, how it might work as you play your don't know if you'd get away with your domestic, because I don't know if you're breaking any sort of rules or something, going to a different league essentially. But could you then sack the UEFA competitions and maybe play this Europa, this Super League, is it like? And you're obviously playing against better opposition, but you're guaranteeing 14 games, like you say, for it, as opposed to what we're maybe can only guarantee teams like 6 games or something in any group stages, and anything after that sometimes a bit of bonus. It's, for me, it's a bit like, for any golfer, it's a bit like the Live Golf Tour, I think, now, where it's it seems a money making thing where teams, a lot of the Live golfers, it was a lot of the older boys went away for the money, but then they had some of the top guys and stuff went there for the money. For me, is it football evolving? I'm not so sure, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Celtic maybe got involved in it. It's maybe one of the ones where we can get some money, then maybe we start seeing, I mean, history will tell you we'll not really do it, but you might start seeing us spending bigger transfer fees on boys and stuff, and you can maybe bring in boys that will be. What are you laughing at? I'm trying to look at comments here to see if there's
bigger transfer fees.
I know, but I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe we've all start spending bigger fees and bigger contracts for folk and stuff. But I kind of hope it doesn't kick off. But then the Champions League's sort of the Super League without the title. Really, it's that's set out for the elite and all that, and almost you're invited into that. Whereas I know we've been fortunate due to, much as folk all know, like I mean, Celtic's European run and Rangers' European run, and obviously how well Scotland's been doing recently has helped us gain automatic access into the Champions League. But for years you were having to play 25 qualifiers to get into it, so it's no really. It's, for me, the Champions League's a bit like the Super League, but it's been running for ages. Like Alistair said there earlier, that's changing. So I think you're now guaranteeing 10 games a season in the Champions League. So I think UEFA are trying to do things similar to the Super League, but just to try and kill the idea for the Super League dead in the water. Because I think it's an American, if it's all American boys that are interested in it, I think that's where it all came from. But I would like to say no, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got involved in it.
I know what you're saying. I'm sort of on the fence now. I didn't know what to think it, because there's no enough facts, like concrete facts, in front of me to make a sort of informed decision or informed opinion. But you're talking about the Champions League and how that's, you look at it and you say it's basically the Super League without the title. I would have to agree with that. The Champions League now, for me, if Celtic are only in it, I don't really watch a lot of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't watch many games. I'll probably watch the latter, and I'm going to really contradict myself here, but it's just what you do. I'll watch the latter games that, like, if it's a big game, I don't know, like a Liverpool Real Madrid, say, right, obviously no so much this season because Real Madrid were well ahead of them, but in seasons gone by,
like a Ross County v Valencia.
Aye, but the latter stages of games I'll watch if they're bigger games, and this is where the contradiction comes in, because it pisses me off, because the last sort of, I don't know, the last 8 maybe the quarterfinals, it's usually the same, usually the same 6 teams. There's a couple of teams chop and change, so you'd have to say it's boring. You'd have to say it's boring, but then you still watch it because although it's boring and it's the same teams, it's a different game of football, and you end up most of the time enjoying the actual game. But for me, like you've said, Franny, it's geared up for the elite clubs, and that's why they teams are in the latter stages every year. When Celtic are in it, I love the Champions League because all I've seen is pitting our wits against Europe's elite. I love seeing us, it's not happened for a wee while, but I love seeing us getting big results in Europe against teams that we otherwise probably shouldn't beat. In terms of the Super League, like I say, I can't really make an informed opinion on it just now, but again, I don't really know. I don't know if you can shed any light, Steve, if you know a bit more, but I don't really know how the money would get divided up. I don't know how the seedings would work, if it'd be the same as the Champions League, whereas we're going to be, again, I'll use that saying, pushing into the wind. But I don't know. I would need to see more facts, and obviously more stuff comes to light. But what's your sort of thoughts on it as it stands?
I think that, to be fair, what we can see, UEFA are starting to panic. I think UEFA are taking this seriously now. They're starting to make changes at the top level, and Franny made a great point. From 2024 onwards, the Champions League's becoming like a league system with a certain amount of teams in it, 8 games against certain opposition seated near you, a playoff system, that type of stuff. And FIFA are changing the format to the Club World Cup. They want to make it a bigger program during the summer, which again is a lot of congestion in football that we probably don't need. So they're trying to make a change.
Head's just exploding.
They're trying to make a change to the landscape of football, and I think, to be fair, there's going to be an evolution in some shape or form, and I think Celtic have to be ready. And if I go back to the comments here, because everyone's getting involved with this, let me see. Lanky, why do I think there'll be a few suitors looking at us, especially since we just had a turnover 112 million, maybe a takeover in a couple of years' time? You never know. Lanky 67, I think a City group in us will happen. Not really keen on that myself. Michael Ross, that's what my kind of thought. Celtic have outgrown Scottish football. Brian Krupa, nice to have you on, Brian. Haven't seen your name before, so great to have you in the chat. There are no qualifiers in 2 years' time. Patrick McLaughlin coming in when want to have involvement with the City group. But in terms of the Super League, we all seen the big song and dancing. To be fair, we were probably all against it at the time. But these guys aren't giving up. They want a league in some shape or form. This group or organisation who are behind us with billions of pounds. And it seems to me that the Celtic board will take any opportunity to make more money. Let's be honest. And if more money is going to come from other areas, more avenues, that's fine. And the whole Super League, if it coincided with a normal domestic season, I wouldn't really be bothered. I wouldn't want to do it because there's so much football to contend with. It's just stupid. If it was like a competition, a league type system, I mean, Michael Ross again, clubs like Celtic, Benfica, Ajax need a bigger platform. If it involved the likes of them, a merger of European leagues out with the big five, I'd be all for it, like 100%. We have to get our thinking the caps on. We talk about pissing in the wind, Ross, losing one player in the Champions League. It shouldn't be like that for a club like Celtic. We're a big club. We're big in world football. The fan base is huge. There's plenty of opportunities for us to explore. Korean television is going to cover every game from now on because O signed, so there's more money coming into the books. The tour of Japan, the tour of Asia coming up. There's more money coming into the Celtic Football Club. And you all know I love Scottish football. I make no mistake saying it. I don't care. I love watching highlights of the games and stuff. But at the end of the day, we need to explore other opportunities. Super League, is it selling their soul? I don't really know. Do you know what I mean? I think we all know what Celtic means. All the true supporters know who we are, where we've came from, what we've done, how we were made, do you know what I mean? The journey we took as a club, Lisbon, 67, all them types of players will never be forgotten. So the whole history thing, people forget. We won't forget. Well, no.
I think
Just
that's just
because
them
they
trying to show they've got
have,
some
yeah,
sort of moral compass in that.
no,
Aye.
100%.
I think it has
But
to.
it's if you turns around to me or you or whatever, and you goes like, see next season, guaranteed £100 million to spend in the transfer window, but the only caveat is you have to move leagues to a bigger one. Hello, do you know what I mean? You be on
Bye,
that.
Audrey.
I think, well, it's no harm in saying it. We always want it. We always talk about every season. Every season, we need to do better in European football. We need to make a better case. We need to play better against Shakhtar Donetsk. We need to beat Benfica. We need to beat AZ Alkmaar. The only way we can do that on a regular basis without having a cracking result or one of them nights in Europe is if we play quality opposition week in, week out. You can't go from playing Barcelona at Nou Camp to Dingwall in the Highlands. That doesn't compute. The players are coming from a major high to playing against a major low. And that's no disrespect. It's not. It's just the logistics of football has changed. Scottish football isn't what it was in the 70s. It's never going to be like it again. Dundee United are never going to get to another final. Aberdeen's never going to win another Cup Winners' Cup. Rangers died within that period, so they're never winning anything again. So it's like, I look at this, and again, I'm not saying sell our souls, but have a bit of perspective, have a bit of light, open your eyes to something different. I love the idea that the Scandinavian clubs are doing. Kind of, they're going to test out the Belgian league, and I think what was it, Norwegian league or merging? It's one of them two leagues. They're going to try and merge and see if that works out. If there's a change of ownership, if Saudis come in, I don't know. Is that a bad thing? Do you know what I mean? I look at the Saudi run clubs and I don't really see that they're ever getting any trouble. Touch wood. I know that the contentious issues with the state. I 100% agree with everything people say about the state. I don't agree with what they do, their politics and things like that. If a Dubai owner come in, so you can't tell me that a Manchester United fan is going to less support their club if they get took over by Jim Radcliffe or a Saudi Arabian consortium. No, they're going to support their club till they win another league or win another European trophy. It will still feel the same. It's more money. Like, I bang on about it every podcast. We need to spend more. We need to be better. We need to get better. And getting more money into the bank, what is the problem? And yes, as I said, Saudi, but I ask all the questions, 100%. Human ethics and all, I'm 100% for it. Everyone should let live, be happy, be whoever you want to be. But if someone came into the club tomorrow and said, look, we're coming from overseas, from River, here, Dermot, there's 100 million to fuck off, we'll take over the club and move us on. Are you going to say that's a bad thing?
Well, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but I've said it in a previous podcast. If Celtic go into some sort of, like, if they moved to England or they went into a Super League and it was going to benefit them long term, but they had to work to get to that, to get the benefits. And on the pitch, they had to play football, obviously, and win games to then get more money and grow that way. I'm all for that, and it's got to be, for me, it's got to be fair, because we've moaned about things not being fair for a long while. But in terms of somebody coming in and Celtic just getting a cash injection, I'm not saying if it happened, I would get on that train and run with it. But at the same time, there would be that.
You could be driving it.
I know, but there'd be that seed at the back of my head going, we've not actually worked for this. We don't. Well, I'm totally arguing myself here because I'm like, well, we've not actually worked for this, but we have, because we've endured the last, I don't know, 20
He's
years.
on that train, Stephen. He's on that.
I know,
train.
I'm on it, mate.
Where's
We've
Barca?
endured the last 20 years of getting shot on for England. And like Sky Sports have ruined Scottish football. They've took all the money out of our game. Like, was he pumped it into England? Then Europe, we're getting left behind there as well. And people will say, you've said it yourself, Stephen, like we need to do better in Europe and all the rest of it, but it's difficult to do it. It's difficult to keep up because the gap's getting bigger and bigger all the time because of the financial restraints on us and the financial gains for the bigger teams. I really don't know.
Can I just make a point? Tim Alloy come in there, Ross. I didn't mean to cut
It's
you off.
Tim Alloy, by the way.
Tim Alloy, whatever. Tim Alloy, Paul Duet, and all in the comments were getting involved here.
Tim
He
Gabriel.
said he said he would like to see a better investment in the SPFL. I'd be all for that, buddy. If that happened,
100%.
if someone came in with the bright idea of revamping that league, I would love to see an 18-team league. I don't understand why it can't happen. We've got the facilities to do it. We've got the clubs in there to do it. But again, I'm Dickinson. To me, a Saudi investment is bad. Stephen, go down that route just destroys the game. This is meant to be a sport for working class. 100%. Mate, I'm on board with this. It's 100%
sport for working class now. For me.
Yeah, it's a business. Celtic are a business. They have to make money to survive. And I look, saying Saudi Arabia, right, might be a bad example, but I still stick by my principle. If someone came in and went, lads, I tell you what, I give you this big transfer budget. I'll take you away from this league. We'll be secure. We'll be going. We'll be flying. You have to take a risk sometimes. You have to be like, let's run with the punches, roll with the punches to get success. And I think sometimes as fans, to be fair, we're scared to make that jump because we're used to what we have at the minute. That's grand. I love winning. Fucking win all day. Win all the championships you've won. I love it because the success we've had over the last however many seasons has been amazing. But can you imagine the opportunities, the turnover, which we're going to speak about, Ross? What that would be if we left? What that would be from TV money? What that would be from away fans coming in? What that would be from merchandise sales? What that would be from players going out with proper transfer fees that we should be getting? It would be astronomical. And not all of it has to come from some consortium. We could self-generate millions of pounds if we were allowed to, which we have done, but we're not going to spend the majority of it. So I like to see a bit of risk. I want to see something different, and I want to see Celtic succeed. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't think there is either. And I don't know. I think for Celtic to fulfil their potential, they do have to leave Scotland. And I think they deserve to fulfil their potential. But at the same time, if you're a Hearts supporter or a Hibs supporter, listen to me talking like that, you're like, shut up, you dick. You know what I mean? Because
But they depend on us.
Of course they do. But I don't know. It's you could talk about this for ages. But until
Ross, put it like this, right? Have you ever heard this before, right? Well, look at the leagues. Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A, EPL, Polish League, Norwegian League, Dutch League, wherever it may be in Europe. Is there any other club that keeps 11 other clubs alive? No. We keep the majority of our league alive and kicking. Celtic Football Club, with the away support, week in, week out to these small clubs, we keep them alive.
You have to say Rangers do that as well.
Well, they were brought back from the...
But if you're talking about in terms of like gate going into away grounds, then they do that as well.
Fair enough. But what I'm saying is, there's no other European league that has that reliance on the top two clubs.
Mm-hmm.
No, because the Scandinavian clubs get far more TV money.
Fucking TV.
Aye, but you tell me the Swedish league is of a better standard than the SPFL? No. You saying the Norwegian league is? No. Saying Belgium is? Probably equal, but they're getting like 50, 60 million. Doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. Neil Doncaster is the single-handed man who's ruined Scottish football. His Sky deal, which he thought it was a success over 5 years, but actually pays us less than the last one. Madness. He lets plastic pitches in the SPFL. Madness. It's like, come on. We want to push this product out to the masses, but we look like absolute fools doing it. It's run shambolically from top to bottom. Shambolically.
I didn't disagree with that.
I didn't disagree with the Sky deal, what you're saying, Stephen, but who else was at the table? BT Sports didn't offer what Sky offered. Nobody else.
I would have rather take BT Sports because for one, they give a better commentary and a better view of Scottish football.
The coverage of BT Sports better, but you would, I don't know what BT Sport were offering, but say Sky are like, we give 25 million a season. BT Sport say 15, and they take the 15. They've got to get. They'll be like, what you doing? You've taken less money for the league, even though it's better coverage. But nobody else was competing with Sky.
But Franny, you're getting 29 million over 5 seasons spread across 12 member clubs. It's not right. It's not right.
That just shows you there was nobody competing with them.
No, I agree.
You're
I
not gonna
100%
pay
agree.
over- Compete with me, you're not going to pay over us for it.
You have to remember, we ditched BT Sports for the first call that Sky gave us. Do you know what I mean? So BT may be a bit wrangled with Scottish football. They still do the football extra show with McCoist and Darryl Curry and Chris Sutton, which is a great watch, by the way. Brian Warrior comes in. I believe if Celtic became a fan-controlled entity, as they have in Germany, 50+1, we can make a much better go of it Europe while maintaining a grip domestically. I'm up to any suggestion. I really am. And if that
really
works, that
know
works.
enough about that model. We really.
What is that model then? Because I don't know it.
So
I
it's
think
like,
the fans own most of the club, like 51%.
yeah, but they have a
and some
backer.
zones, they have a backer. But as I say, I don't
Right.
know how much financially the fans need to be involved or whatever. But obviously have a say in the club and how they move forward.
Right. Aye, so it's sort of like part fan owned.
Well, it's essentially, I think it's mainly fan owned because they own most of it, essentially. Most
Right.
of the
I
club.
think
They have
Celtic might-
most of the say.
Yeah. I think that's why Leipzig's hate it in Germany, because they haven't done that model, and I think every other club hates them. That's why they get the bad press. But one of the
Aye.
things Celtic could even look at doing as well, Celtic TV, cut out of the TV deals and make the Celtic TV subscription for everybody who can watch it all these different times instead of fucking replays at 10 o'clock at night. Have the live games, £15 a month, or whatever it is, rolling it.
Aye.
Mhm.
I agree with that. Right, listen. Well, we could go on forever about that, but we'll move on to what you'd spoke about earlier there, Stephen. Our projected revenue is 112 million. Obviously, there's been a lot of variables that's brought us to this possible point. If when we win the league, I think it's looking pretty ominous. We could match or better that revenue next season. I'm only going with what I've read, by the way, but because as you know, I am no numbers expert. I am a painter.
You are.
Aye.
Yes, you are.
Aye. That's what the
But,
tax man says naked.
we could better. What's that?
The tax man said that day.
I hate you. That's enough. But we could probably match or better that revenue next season. Obviously, if we win the league, which is looking ominous, we'll go straight into the Champions League again. I think there's extra games. Is it next season or the year after? I think
Following
next season there's. I think there's an extra. Is it no next season? No.
I think
No.
it's maybe. I think there's maybe more teams. You might be right in that.
I think there's an extra game. I think there's more teams in it, and you play one more game.
It's from 2024. The revamped
Is it?
Champions League is.
Is it?
Okay, we're talking piss, Ross.
Right. But anyway,
It might actually be next season because
obviously,
could be.
we tap them into the Japanese and Australian market. I just think that they sort of things have brought us to this point. But obviously, that's projected. It hasn't definitely happened yet. But if we do our business on the park, it most likely will happen. What do you think of that, Stephen? The revenue projected revenue anyway.
I've seen the report by that independent consultant agency people, and they even said that the shares of Celtic are greatly undervalued, and the fact that they recommend that members get involved with shares and stuff because it could be going up in price. And that comes back to what Lanky says. Is this an opportunity to maybe take an ownership or a bid for the club? We all know what Desmond's like. He hasn't really put his own hand in his pocket for years and years. We kind of go off profits and stuff like that. One thing I will do, I will give Chris Mackay, Michael Nicholson the praise, because to push through £112 million of revenue, even beating Rodgers at 101 million, I believe, in his second season that he turned over, is incredible. And that's what I said. But the thing we have to read into this as well, at least 60, 70 million of that has come out of running costs, come out for players' wages, maintenance of the ground, maintenance of Lennoxtown, Barrowfield for the ladies' team, all that type of stuff. So we're left with probably, I'd say, 60 million profit all in all, with the 50 million apparently in the bank available and ready. If rumours are led to be believed, Ange is going to be back to the summer with a transfer kitty of over 20 million. That's the latest rumour as well going around. So again, if that happens, that's great, but we need to up that spending cap a wee bit. It's madness. I mean, this is where you'd be smart, and they have been smart in a way. Like they've took advantage of the Japanese market really good. The Celtic FC Twitter account from Japan is like the seventh fast in European football, behind the likes of Liverpool, Madrid. So they've climbed up there, and they're eating the merchandise up. Like, do you know what I mean? They're buying everything. They're releasing fourth and fifth kits. The St. Patrick's Day kit was sold out, and they had to release more stock of it. The shoes, which will be a hit for some people, a miss for others. So there is financial avenues and financial gains that they're making. The tour of Asia is going to bring in around $5 million, I believe. So there's another good couple of quid that come into the coffers. So the revenue is great. It looks great on a bit of paper. It's nice to know the club's healthy, but it'd be also nice to know if we're going to replace the likes of Hatate Abada if they leave. Do you know what I mean? We'll have to wait and see in the summer. It's quite scary for Scottish football that we're turning that over in a subpar league. If we're honest, I looked at their Swiss Ramble, and I believe we're somewhere in the region of what Brighton have raked in terms of revenue, and that's obviously we're a bigger club. But I mean, they've raked in TV stuff, and on top of all that, and we have to kind of start from the bottom and work our way up. And the match and EPL club are even better. Some EPL clubs and revenue is fantastic, and it should be commended because it's great. And if that keeps going, if beat that next season, well, who's to say we'll get big and spend about $5 million on a player again?
I'm just listening to you there, Stephen. You brought up a lot of good points, things that I'm not aware of, don't even think about. I find it difficult to talk about, have a proper debate about this side of things. I'm more about the football in the park. I can hold a conversation with people quite easily about that for as long as you want. But in terms of what we've talked about, Franny, come to you first. The financial, obviously, the gap with the projected revenue, the gap looks pretty stark. And providing we do our business on the park for the remainder of this season, and obviously Stephen's touched on possibly Ange getting a £20 million kitty, which I think at the very least they should get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we do that and we back him and we get this title over the line, which I fully expect that we will, do you think that we're entering or already entered into another sustained period of dominance domestically? I
think the short and easy answer, I think when you look at the accounts, we should be. We've obviously got, it's public knowledge, we've got 50 million sitting in the bank already there. And that's before taking this 120 projected 112 million turnover into account. Stephen's right, obviously there'll be a lot of running costs and things like that attached to that. So I think there'd probably be, like Stephen said, 70 million there or thereabouts probably goes into that. So then it's only maybe 40 odd million after that. But then if that's 40 odd million profit on 50 million profit that's sitting in the bank, it's a lot longer for a Scottish club to be sitting with. And I'm
Celtic doing their own payday loan scheme.
I mean, Franny saying Wonga like he's Angie.
And to be fair, Celtic are run like a business. They've run with dividends and so it's the board's, it's to the board's members' benefit to have these sort of turnovers and not necessarily spend tons of money because it means they get less money in return, I guess. But with all that money, and then obviously what's looking highly likely is more Champions League money to count on next season because obviously we're straight into the groups. And like was discussed earlier, the potentially players leaving, we might not be getting maybe 20 odd million for these guys, but if 2 or 3 leave, you might get a combined 20 million for the players. So it's all money to then. But I think the fans will start looking at it and going, like I know Stephen said the rumours 20 million. I didn't think the board will get as much as I don't think you can sort of discredit the board for how they've treated Ange now with money and things like that. I think they've backed him fairly. There's maybe been 1 or 2 maybe in his first transfer window he wanted, but they were like, well, we need to watch. Sometimes it's not necessarily a probation period, but it's maybe if you can get X amount right, we'll maybe back you up a wee bit more. You're shopping in this market now until we can actually trust you, so to speak. So, I mean, maybe Ange likes shopping in these markets. There's no doubt, obviously, knows the Asian market and likes being in there, but can we then say to him, look, we know you can find a bargain, but it's not a proven science to go and sign 7, 8, 9, 10 million pound players, and they're all got to be superstars and got to be good. But there's less. The more you spend, the less risk there is attached to that. So I would like the board to say, or Ange to go to the board. I like this guy, like that. I think it was how much interest were that Brazilian boy in the summer where it was reported like 8.
Or something.
Aye.
Don't obviously not sure how much.
Sousa or something.
That's right. I don't know who it is, but
aye.
if another player like that or of that value comes in, I would love the board to go, right, let's go and try and get him then. Instead of going, we're not really willing to, I don't know if we're too sure about spending that kind of money on a player. Just if that's the player Ange identifies, I think he's got enough credit in the bank to go, right, well, that player cost 10 million. If he turns it to be a dud, fair enough. We're not going to hold that against him. If he wants another guy at that money, I know, but I think the guy's got enough. I think the guy's got enough credit in the bank to go, right, we can trust him to spend a bit of cash, and if he doesn't get it right with that bit of cash, then he go, well, you better go back and find your real Hatatis and things like that. But I think what also, when you look into obviously the turnover and things like that, there's no many big clubs run with that level of profit. Nobody really runs with like, I'm not saying we're of the level in Man United, Real Madrid, commercial and stuff like that, but they didn't run it anywhere near that carry on. They're like massive debt now.
Well, you look at Barcelona, Franny, Jesus, I don't know how they're still around.
I mean, the thing is, any reasonable Celtic fan, we're not asking to be hundreds of £1 million in debt. Like, we're not asking to spend 100 odd million a season and things like that. But you just, I can't remember. I think it might have been Brown. Somebody said it in the just a balance, like speculate, but a balanced speculate. Don't just spend money for the sake of spending money. Like, have a wee bit of thought behind it and stuff. I would think that would get some Celtic fans excited, because you would end up having your situations with Rodgers and stuff where I think fans turned a wee bit on the board with that when Rodgers was wanting guys like Castagna and things like that, and before going back into John McGinn. And ends up with was it? No, I think it was Lennon that got John Jacket, but ends up with like guys like
Jeremy Toljan
and Malumba for Kilmarnock. You're like, that's just no.
Malumba,
that's no competing. And fans obviously, if you then do that again with Ange, who I think we all believe is a top elite manager, is got everybody on his side. Every fan is on Ange's side, so. If he starts identifying players of that higher market value and then doesn't get them, whether that be because the player doesn't fancy it or not, Ange will probably not say the fan, because that might look bad in him or something, and then Ange maybe moves on. Everybody will turn again on the board, and maybe some it will be unjust and stuff. The board maybe tried to get the player, but the player just didn't come. I think we need to be a wee bit more balanced in our speculation. Just maybe take that wee risk and spend a wee bit more cash. Like, I would love us not necessarily to sign 5 or 6 players, but maybe 2 or 3 at 8, 9, 10 million. Just if that's his value, just go out and get him. Just go out and get that player. And see where
I understand what you're saying there, but to me, if Celtic could get a 10, 12 million pound player, great, but. And I'll trust Ange, but I'm quite happy with the sort of way he's doing it now, if that's how he wants to do it. And I think as well, people are saying, what's that?
So if that's how he wants to do it, then fair, like,
but I think
maybe Ange's comfy's shopping this way.
Aye,
you drinking milk?
Can I ask you a question?
Is that milk?
Do you like pina colada?
Pina colada?
Aye.
Oh my God. You better get your umbrella up, kid. Totally thrown me. I don't even know what I'm saying there. Pina colada on the podcast.
It's took it to a whole new level, like,
aye, no, that's what I was going to say. So, people are saying, like, spend bigger, want to sign a £10 million player, a £12 million player, whatever it is. Or play. You hear people saying, I want to sign a player that's Champions League ready. That's all well and good, but for me, Champions League ready players don't come to Scotland. They go to England or they go to a bigger league because they're Champions League ready. Celtic are a massive club, but they play in Scotland. I don't think Champions League ready players come to Scotland. Maybe one or two, you maybe get them in the door at that price, and you don't realise they're Champions League ready until you don't realise that you'll maybe get one or two that you bring in. You don't realise that.
By the way, I'd be drinking a lot more if it was.
Oh, sorry, Ross. Go ahead.
No, you're all right. It's aye. So you'll maybe get lucky, and one or two will come in that are Champions League ready, but you never signed them knowing they were Champions League ready. Mm-hmm. You got them,
I think,
as that higher sort of market, but you weren't quite sure if they were Champions League ready, and then they go in and they're Champions League ready, and then people will say, "See, Champions League ready player." But I don't know. It's a difficult market for Celtic to get the.
I think,
you look at Rangers. They signed Tony Andrew Flo, played in the Premier League, £12 million, absolute fucking dog shite.
I think it's fair to say we get the flat pack of IKEA flat pack of player, them, take it out, build it up, and then sell them on again. Mm-hmm. I think like the Champions League ready player thing for me is a myth. I know it's about big transfer fees, but it's going to be it's a risk, and I like to take a risk sometimes. And if you say to me, for example, like I don't know how you put it, who would you say is Champions League ready that we could probably afford? Probably no one at the minute. That's fair enough.
Aye.
But if you go into that 9, 10, 11 million pound bracket, you can maybe look at players from just out of nowhere, Club Brugge. You can maybe look at players out of Victoria Pilsen. You can maybe look at players out of all these teams who play big roles, beating big clubs for that club they're at. So there's opportunities to find players in and around that bracket. And I think it was it Dave Bruce, mentioned the wage cap. Yeah, there's a wage cap, but still you can get a good player on a good wage of 20 grand a week, whatever. They're not going to break the bank from Scandinavian leagues. And there's opportunities out there that we're missing, in my opinion. We're sleeping on opportunities sometimes, and you see players we're linked with in the past, and they move on, and they're like, "Poof!" It's like, we could have we could have had that, and if it pushed the boat out a bit more, they want to go back into history. So there's players we have missed on and slept in and over a couple of quid. Do you know what I mean? It's meaningless, and at the end of the day, sometimes we broke the bank for Edward. We got 2.5 good seasons out of him, and he wanted to leave, and then we got 19 million for him. So there's scope there. There's scope to make money and spend money.
Right, well, again, right, I'll go back to it, right. So we want to sign players that are ready for the Champions League, right? So Rio Hatate, right now, right, is Champions League ready, in my opinion, right? Yeah. But if he wasn't at Celtic and we wanted to get him, he's going to cost us 10 million, 15 million, right? Now, because what he's done, right? Because he's played in the Champions League, he's been linked with Brighton, it's going to cost him 10 to 15 million pound to get him. So we have to spend that on Rio Hatate to get him, to help us make an impact in the Champions League. But Rio Hatate alone isn't going to make Celtic make an impact in the Champions League. So for Celtic to make an impact in the Champions League, they're going to have to spend 10 to 15 million on 3, 4, 5 players to make us as a team Champions League. No, wait, sorry. To make us as a team Champions League ready. Sorry, Steve. But you're going into the what? 15, 20, 30, 45 million bracket. That's 3 or 4 players. Celtic are not going to spend that. They just aren't. Celtic are going to they have to shop in a market, and they have to be smart. It's not just I don't think Celtic should or need to go out and spend £10 million on 3, 4, 5 players to make us Because at the end of the day, okay, we might get out of the group buying the players, but we might not. And see, if we do get out of the group, the chances are we'll get a Real Madrid or somebody in the last 16. Okay, we've broke out that group. It's great. We've all enjoyed it. But then after that game, we're out the competition, and we're stuck with these £15 million players playing in Scotland who probably don't really want to be there.
But are you conceding next year's Champions League group then? Because you basically said in a roundabout way.
Absolutely not.
No, you basically said in a roundabout way there. Hatate's Champions League ready, but then we need to spend in other areas of the pitch 4 or 5 players, and then you referenced if we get through, we're going to play like a Real Madrid or whatever, so we're going to basically go out anyway. I think for me that's a lack of ambition. We shouldn't be looking at group stage football saying we don't have the players capable to do that or get into that level. I think like this season, for example, we spoke about it. Thought we should have done far better in that group. We all know we should have. Instead of going back over old things, that group we should have at least finished third. To be honest, get into next season. Fast forward, you're going to be using that same excuse next season, saying, "Oh, we didn't have the players to compete." So we have the money there to go out and get a decent quality of player, maybe 3 or 4 players to sprinkle around that team. Champions League ready, Europa League after that, whatever. Make a good run, make a good fist of it. Instead of thinking, oh, we've got a Tate, he's great, but 4 or 5 other positions need filled, and that's going to cost X amount of money. But it doesn't matter anyway because we'll play Real Madrid and get pumped.
But you've just said sign the players and then playing the Champions League, then playing the Europa League.
Yeah,
so
but
there's no Champions League ready, the guys.
No, we're not going to win it. But what I'm saying is, we'll have the ambition.
You're saying we're not getting out of the group.
What I'm saying, we have the ambition to do well in Europe, and I think personally we should be aiming to win Elixir of Europa League. I don't see no reason why we couldn't. So it's like, on one hand we're like, we need to do this. On the other hand, we're making an excuse. It doesn't marry up, in my opinion. Like the Champions League, I was so adamant about it. We should have done far better. It was a failure.
Should have.
Ange, his tenure so far, that's his only big failure. Is European football, in my opinion. And get into next season thinking it's going to another free hit. They're not saying you said that, Ross, but there are people of that mindset saying it's another free hit. Doesn't matter. The great Knights are back at paradise. We clap the fucking opposition players off the pitch because they played a good pass. Doesn't wash in me. Does not wash in me. We go and compete. We get points. We're not there as a tourist club. We're not there just to make money. We're there for the supporters who pay their hard-earned wages every week to fucking put a performance out in the pitch. We go away from home. 7,000 fans in Lazio. Fantastic night. Keep them things up. It's all this peshy, excusey attitude saying, I had 3 or 4 shots on target. Great. Take them another day, would have won that game. It's a load of bollocks, in my opinion. We need to perform far better in European football. We have the players at the minute that could probably do it. Jada, Hatate, McGregor, O'Reilly, all them types of players. Kyogo. There's no reason why we can't make a good fist of it next season. 100%.
And we never spent 10, 12 million on any of the players. So why do we need to do it?
But you said it. You said 4 or 5 different positions.
But you're wanting us to. I'm saying we never spent that on any of the players, and but we could have maybe got out the group possibly if we'd spent if we'd took our chances. You look at it. I don't think we need to spend that big money. I think next season, without spending that big money, we could maybe. I don't know. I still don't think we'd get out of the group, but I think we could make a far better fist of it with the players we've got. Obviously, be a couple more added, depending on who leaves. But
well, what's your if we got to the Europa League? Would you want to get to the final?
Oh, aye.
Do you think that's a realistic opportunity and possibility for us?
Aye, well, Rangers done it last season, so why not?
That's my point. Yeah.
What's your point?
That's exactly what I mean. If Rangers could do it,
but what was your point there?
If Rangers could do it with, let's be fair, a far less squad than we have,
I feel like you're arguing against your point here, Stephen.
I'm not. Why can't we do it? We have a better quality of player.
You're wanting us to spend 10, 12 million on a player.
And you've just argued totally against that.
Right, move on.
I think we will. I've lost even.
Cut that out. I'll cut that out. Don't worry.
Right.
I want us to spend money. Look at Rangers. They've got to UEFA Cup final. If it's spending money,
spend fuck all. Nah, right. We'll move on to more current affairs.
Right, lads.
By the way, I think I maybe argued against my point a wee bit as well at some point.
We've all done it.
We backed ourselves into a corner. But we'll move on to obviously that's the international break over. We're moving into the business end of the season, if you like. A defining April ahead. We've got Ross County on Sunday, then Rangers the following Saturday. I mean, I know it's one game at a time, but Stephen, we win the 2 games. Are you claiming the title?
I'm claiming the title already, mate. I think it's wrapped up and it's halfway or 3/4 of the way back. Well, in Paradise, so it's going to stay there. I don't think it's going to be plain sailing. I think maybe we'll drop a point or whatever here or there. But I think they will drop a few points. I think the game against them next weekend is going to be, if we win that game, it's lights out. If we go 12 points clear.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? And the reason why I'm not saying we're going to win every game, you have to be a bit pessimistic as well. You have to expect a slip up here and there, maybe a point drop. But if we go 12 points clear, Fanny, we drop 1, we're back to 11. So it doesn't really influence the matter of things. But yeah, I'm confident. I see Connor Goldsman is making noise again today with some absolute waffle that they all seem to sprout about the league not being over and about, what was it he said? He could win it from now or something?
He said, like, the league isn't over. He said, we're not giving it up, but all we can do is win all our games for here at the end of the season and win that league.
What league?
I know. That's what he said. That was exactly what he said. So basically when Beale came in to the end of the season the new league, so they want to win that league to give themselves belief. So like Franny nailed it earlier. Like if Rangers, okay, that's fine. Rangers go and try and win that league, your wee made up league, right? But if you lose at Parkhead and we win that league, we done a quadruple this season then.
2 legs. Do you ever see that Twitter account, the fake trophy one? That's another one out of that list, and they're like this.
So
well done. They're
so good.
They must sit in the dressing room thinking the shit to say. It's mental.
I would be embarrassed if Celtic players were talking like that. Embarrassed.
Yeah, Michael Beale has somewhat brainwashed everybody at that club to think he's a genius. See, for me, there's no improvement since Van Bronckhorst is there. The only real tweak I can see is Ryan Kemp plays a more free type role. That's it. That's the only magic bit of tactics that he's managed to come out of his wee fixed goal. I just don't see it. I think that it's shambolic, the stuff they're saying, and I know in a way it's to appease their support. Right, it is. It has to be. They cannot believe what they're saying. Like, imagine go back. I know. Imagine they're thinking their season ticket renewal. We're not going to win that league, but we'll win this one. Please join in at Ibrox.
And that league consists of 80-minute games.
It's mad. I think to be fair, we have them so far. You said we backed ourselves in the corner. They're literally they have backed themselves in the corner with the shit they're coming off with, and sadly again have kept their counsel. They've kept calm. Postecoglou did it. I know there was that incident which I might come on to, Ross, with the headbutt and stuff. But it's like, why even react to it? Do you know what I mean? We've done our talking on the pitch. We've beat them in important games. We drew at Ibrox, fair enough. We didn't turn up, and they played their best. So it's madness. The league's wrapped up. I don't even know why. It's 9 points. We're 9 points ahead. It would take an absolute catastrophe to drop these points. It'd probably take the whole squad, plus the reserves, plus the under-18s to be all injured for us not to win. It's magic, man. I'm just loving it. And you asked Franny if we entered into a period of dominance. We're well and truly in one. 100%. I believe we're in a big period of dominance. 100%.
I believe that as well. There's no point in asking you, Franny, if you think we're going to win the league, because you've been saying it for about 3 years. But after the 2 games, I'll come to you, Franny. We go to Kilmarnock, in which we play second again. It's well over more than half of the time for me, when we've played in different days, that Celtic have played second. But I mean, I'll come to you first, Franny. Just your thoughts on the pesky fixture planner, the computerised fixture planner. For me, there is a definite. I didn't want to be like this, but I feel like there is a definite deliberate act in this, where Rangers play first all the time, because
he's in. He's came to the dark side.
But they're playing second when they go to Pittodrie a few weeks' time. But for the most part, certainly for the return for the World Cup, right? I could probably count in one hand. In fact, I think it's 2, 3 at a push. Celtic have played first. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Franny. And then I thought you were going to say something else. That was all.
No.
It is mad when you actually look at it, and sometimes you can say it's because we're on telly, but I reckon the majority of the time they've been on telly as well. Rangers have been the team on telly. They've played first and they've been the team that's on telly, so it's not like
Celtic kicked off at 12:30 on a Saturday. Rangers would kick off at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Sometimes I suppose it is to an extent moved because of telly, but it just seems to be moved before yours. But I suppose to totally flip it, because obviously it does give them that chance to claw the points gap back by 3 points, which since the World Cup they've done every time they've had the chance, but obviously we've extended it. But it must be demoralising for them again. Like, I fully expect them to take full points against Dundee United tomorrow. But what's that?
The final act generally closes the show.
That's true.
So I fully expect them to beat Dundee United tomorrow at Ibrox. Dundee United are playing great now, but sort of it should be all barring a disaster. Well, say a disaster. All barring certain madness. It'll go back to 6 points going into the Ross County game. But it must be demoralising for them, because I think we'll win. I don't think we'll maybe play it. I think we've got a few injuries and stuff and things like that. So, but it must be a bit demoralising again if we then go on to win another game. They're like, oh, well, we'll put the pressure on. Again, they've won. And it's every time they've got a chance to put the pressure on, what they have done. We've got late goals and stuff, but every time we've got a 100% record of answering them back right now. Saying, all right, you've clawed the points back, but we've won. We've won again. So it's going to maybe effectively take its toll. I think, like, Stephen, I think obviously we'll win.
Did you see that comment there?
What was that?
17 times.
Mental. That's half
Many
the season.
games have we won?
It's half the season. It's essentially half the season.
What game? How many games have we played? 20.
We're on 20. We're on 28. 28 or 29 now. I think there's 9 league games left. So it'll be
so that leaves 9. Many of the 9 have we played first. We've not played first 9 times. Put it that way. Well, we've played Rangers twice, so there's 7.
7 now. And so, but I think it must be a bit demoralising for them, and I think all going well. Obviously, I can't see anything but us winning next week as well to put it to 12 points. If the weekend goes how I expect it to do, then I don't see us dropping any other points up until the split. And then, so I don't know if you've seen, but the King's coronation is the first day of the split. We can also win the league title the first day of the split.
Fuck him.
I know, but what a day to win it! What a day to win it! What a day to win!
It would be nice, but that'll get moved.
I know. Oh, there's no. I will be on the Sunday or something.
Part is not get moved. Apparently, it's not
Is
getting
it
moved.
not? When is
No.
the fixture, the actual fixture list out for
But I think I
um,
don't think
post-split?
the top six hasn't been.
Oh, aye, they need to get
Can
that
actually
sorted first, I suppose.
get
Aye.
that out of the
Aye.
way. So
But
I think the way
maybe they don't, because they just do every arse job anyway.
the
So
way it's working, it's obviously all, I think most teams out with Celtic and Rangers can essentially get in the top six or drop out the top six. But I think if we get a good result against them, like beat them in the cup semi-final, I think they will. I think their whole season's riding on that game, and I think it'll.
Oh, of course it is. Aye. I think
they'll
they
drop
know that
points.
as well, and
Like,
they're doing
I'm kind
everything.
of in agreement with Stephen that I think we'll drop points between now and the season. But again, where did we drop points? Because
Aye. Listen, you can have an off day. Look at the St Mirren game. It can happen. I
That's one we've had an off day.
I think if what's that?
It's one day we've had an off day in the company.
Well, see, to be honest with you, right? If we beat Ross County tomorrow, right, and then like Stephen alluded to it, if we beat Ross County tomorrow and Rangers, no tomorrow, Sunday, sorry, Rangers win tomorrow, and we go into the Rangers game, we beat them. It doesn't matter if we drop a point. We'll no drop loads of points after that Rangers game at Parkhead. So it doesn't matter where we drop a point, whether it be 2 points and we maybe draw a game. It won't matter. It won't make any difference. If we win on Sunday and then we beat Rangers at Parkhead the following Saturday, that's it. You can wrap the title up. I'm almost there saying that, but after the 2 games, if we go to Dingwall and we beat Rangers, it's done. And it doesn't matter where we drop points. But in terms of that supercomputer, Stephen, computer says no. What's your thoughts on that?
Just first of all, thanks, Michael, for this nice comment. Great podcast, last great banter. Said it before, this podcast more than any is like sitting in the pub talking piss for your mates. That's all we ever want. All we ever want people is have a laugh and join with us and join the comments. I appreciate you joining us, Michael. In terms of this supercomputer, well, in terms of this,
call me a cardboard cutout.
In terms of the supercomputer, I mean, it must be, I don't know, it must be located inside Ibrox. It must be sitting in the boardroom or something. The whole thing, it's like
we plenty of room in that trophy cabinet for it to sit.
They put bicycles on it, mate. Bikes and that was mad. But Franny made a great point there. It must. I mean, Michael Beale watching, for example, his team play first, and he watches us. We're one each, the 88th minute. He's in his office writing a wee speech. Right, we're back in the title race. He looks up, Ralston, bang! He fucking everything just doesn't bother us. We roll on. We are a machine. We keep going, and everything's made to be against us. We know this. There's no conspiracy, no more Ross. Your man David Tanner, who was an impartial Sky Sports presenter, has turned out to be the biggest blue nose known to history.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? The whole Sky Sports studios, I know, they're all mad. And then you look at VAR, no penalties in 2 years against them. You look at checking every one of our goals with a fine tooth comb, every wee line. Apparently now, if you're offside, if the lines touch, you're on. Madness, isn't it? But the whole thing is made for us to feel. And every time we win, every time we put 3 points on the board, is another fuck you to them across the city. We're there, we're always there, and that's how it always will be. The dominant force in Scottish football is Celtic Football Club.
Yes, big man. There you go. That'll do. That'll do for the night. Bye, guys. I said hi, Mark. Hi, Mark.
What about me, Mark? No,
just Franny,
Ross and Franny. That's it. I just there for nothing. That Buddha behind me.
Right, listen. We'll move on for that. We're nearly at 2 hours here. It's just a standard pod for the wee Ross.
Go for free, eh?
But we're go for free, aye. I just want to touch on, just briefly, the injury update. Most of these probably... Aye, most of he's probably watched Angie's presser the day, but just a wee injury update for him that hasn't had that.
I did.
Oh, did you? Wow, it's so impressed. Mate.
Instead of the one I was meant to watch.
Aye, that wasn't the presser you watched. If you watched that
well.
this morning, the presser wasn't done till about 3:30 today.
I mean, I watched a presser in the bathroom.
He watched one from last year and thought it was
Right, anyway, a wee injury update for folk that haven't been able to see it yet, because obviously we've been sort of in limbo a wee bit over that 2-week period of the international break. But Ange updated us. Forrest is still a good bit away. Obviously, he doesn't really start that much anyway. Ralston and Abada are a couple of weeks away, so they're going to miss the Rangers game. But again, they probably don't start. In my opinion, I think we can cope with that. The real worries were Hatate and Moy, who are back in training. They'll be assessed tomorrow. I don't see him risking them, but they'll be definitely okay for the Rangers game. And then Gregory and CCV, Maeda are all fine. Maeda came back for the Japanese squad early, but they're all fine. They're going to be available tomorrow. I think all in all, Stephen, don't know what you think. I think all in all, that's good news. Like I've said, Ralston, Abada, I think we can cope with. Hatate and Moy, I think they're the big ones. Taylor, guys I've mentioned. What's your thoughts?
For a minute there, I thought I was in a Zoom call with a Celtic medical team. That was excellent, Ross. That was some recite of the injuries there. I mean, to be fair, what was the first one to say before Hatate and Moy?
So Forrest is a bit away still, and Ralston and Abada are a couple of weeks. So they'll miss the Rangers game.
In terms of Hatate and Moy, if they're both out tomorrow, that could be a bit of an issue. But then you have to look at it. Turnbull might come in O'Reilly, but Franny alluded to it before. It's the legs in the middle of the park, and I think you said, Ross, that we lose without Hatate, because without question, he's the most agile midfielder we have at the club. Abada, not really concerning me at the moment if he's out, because we still have the likes of Jada that can come in there. Haksabanovic is back in training, so that's not much of a concern. Ralston, again, Johnson's been a powerhouse since he came in, so I'm no real question marks there. Burnaby, I don't understand what people's gripe is with Burnaby. I really don't.
Can't defend it.
Listen to me. Let me break it down for you, right? Burnaby will come good. His attacking side of his game is excellent. He can take players on. He can pass the ball. He can whip a good ball in, and he can score a goal. We saw that. Just needs to work on the defending and possession. 100%.
Did you see him score a goal against Stephen?
He did score a goal. Did he not score one this season?
Remind me.
I mean,
he's not played
Ross,
many games.
give me a quick one. Ross, will you search that up on your phone? Because I'm pretty sure he did.
Nah, your phone nearby. No, yeah. I've got my phone there. I don't know.
I thought he did.
Nah,
listen,
he did. Burnaby has, but doesn't matter, right?
Let's not be facetious here. Just,
I think he will come good. I like him. I like the look of him. Don't understand the gripe. He's only really had an opportunity a handful of times to kind of keep that possession his own. We all know Taylor's first choice at the minute. Starfelt back in, isn't he? Starfelt's back full training. So Kobe Ashley will be on the bench now. Yeah, the injuries the midfield concerns me, Ross. If we go into next week and we're without Moy and Hatate,
but I've just tell you they're going to be available next
hypothetically.
Right.
If they pick up another knock or something, if it doesn't go
apologise.
right, that would be an issue. But as you said, they're back next week, then that's fine. I have no real gripes. I think we'll take care of Ross County. Malky Mackay's having a tough time up there this season. I think they're near the bottom, or the bottom club in the SPFL. So bit of a damp squid at the minute up there. So yeah, I think we'll take care of them. The people who will come in also be quite interested to see if he throws in like Ben Summers or Matthew Anderson or Bosun Lawwell for a wee game here and there. So yeah, quite excited to see the lineup for Sunday.
Listen to Stephen getting his knowledge of the youth team, and he just pushes it in there for no reason. Nah, listen, like you say, I think Hatate and Moy being out tomorrow, if they are going to be, it's no ideal, but I think we can cope with it at Dingwall. Franny, in terms of the injury sort of update, are you quite okay with
it? I'm okay with reading like what I heard the Postcode was saying. Like say Forrest doesn't really start much anyway. Ralston obviously hasn't been playing much because of the form of Alistair Johnson. The Abada one, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm definitely not concerned about it due to the fact that he'll jot his form, and obviously Maeda's injury is not very serious and stuff. But I would have been more happy with him, especially at Parkhead. He obviously, as we know, he seems to play decent enough against Rangers more at Parkhead than Ibrox anyway, and he has had some decent games recently as well. So it would have been nice to call him as an option, but it looks very, very unlikely if he'll make it. But I think the big ones were Hatate and Moy. The fact that he said what he said about them, saying that they're back training, they'll be assessed tomorrow and stuff. But if not ready, they'll be ready for they'll be okay for next week, which I think plays to the fact that they'll probably know they might be on the bench on Sunday, but ideally they won't be getting used. So I'm more. It was the midfield options that I was more interested in the fact that the two guys, Hatate and Moy, who seem to be okay for next week. I'm okay with Ross with the last eye.
Aye, I'd agree with that. And we'll just move swiftly on. Obviously, we know the situation with the injuries now, so we'll move on to looking ahead to the Ross County game. We'll do our score and lineup predictions as usual. Franny, I'll just come back to you. Just in terms of how you think the game itself will pan out, and then give me your score and your lineup prediction.
I think it might be. I'm not going to say a scrappy game, but at the same time, I don't think we'll be as free flowing and stuff like that. Maybe not play up to usual standards, just due to the fact that I think there might be more changes than we would expect due to injuries and maybe like fitness of some guys and that. So I think maybe just the flow of the team might be disrupted a wee bit due to that. I think we'll get not necessarily a scrape a win, but one of the ones where it's just get the result, get the game out the way type of thing, where it's just a game you just chalk off, so to speak, on the way to on a league campaign. Nothing too flashy, but no real dramas, so to speak. Maybe a 1 or 2-0, just a comfy one or something. But I think for me, the team, favourite. Aye, my favourite. wee hassle-free game. I think for me, the back four or back five picks itself. I would, as much as I just said, I think Bernaby's shite. If it wasn't for many injuries, I'd like him to play. Just because Taylor got injured or went off an injury before the international break, but obviously he didn't. I don't know if he went away with the Scotland team or not, but
he's okay. Taylor's fine.
He certainly didn't play, so I'm just more thinking next week. But I think due to what we're missing further up the park, I think the back five for me picks itself will be Hart, Alistair Johnson, CCV, Starfelt, and Taylor. I think that needs to start just so you've got a good solid base to ball for. I think Awata will come in the midfield just simply because we were talking about legs earlier. Turnbull and O'Reilly, I think it's a wee bit slow, and the fact that I think it's a smaller pitch, the game might be a wee bit tight and stuff. They maybe just need that wee bit of pace. So I think it might be him, Callum McGregor, Way, and I think O'Reilly will come in. I don't think Hatate or Moy. I think Ange's comments were kind of pointed to the fact that they'll not start on Sunday. And then the front three, I think I was toying with the idea of dropping. I said, no, I'd be dropping Kyogo. Was he got to maybe do that and try and keep him for next week? But I think, again, just with guys like Moy and Hatate being out, I think he'll go with Jota, Kyogo, and I actually think Haksabanovic will play instead of Maeda. Just simply because, again, no a big pitch, there might be no space for Maeda to exploit. He obviously had a bit of injury. He obviously had the injury as well when he went over it and came back in early for Japan. He's a player I would rather keep for next week against Rangers as well. We all know what he brings to that game and stuff. So I think that'll be my team. And I'll go 2-0.
2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Good son. Stephen, yourself?
Line-up wise, I'll go Hart and goal, Johnson right back, Carter Vickers, Starfelt, Burnaby, Awata, Cal McGregor, O'Reilly, Jota, O, and Haksabanovic.
I was trying to make an argument for him, mate. I was trying to make an argument for him.
I know, but the reason why
I get why you're putting him in, but
the reasons why is because Kyogo has picked up a knock before, obviously. Taylor picked up a knock before the international series, so keeping them fresh for one more game, another week training under the belt. There's no midweek game to look forward to. Get them that momentum, build it up, and bring them into the Derby game. I think that's perfect. But that team's more than capable of beating a depleted Ross County side. As I said, as you said, Franny, as well, the pitch is tight. Haksabanovic is technical. O can hold it up. He scored a cracking goal for Korea against Uruguay, but it was chalked off. He took it in, swiveled, bang, top right hand corner. It was brilliant. Jota, who's been on holiday again during this break, he loves his holidays, that fella. He'll come back in fresh, and I think O'Reilly has a point to prove to keep his position for the Derby game. And Iwata, just to see him, I think he can cover some ground and be a mainstay in that team next year, possibly. And as I said, Burnaby just starts purely because Taylor was injured before the international break, and I want to give him just another week of preparation for a big game coming
ideally, up. I would like to do the same, mate.
I would go for me. I know it's just hypothetical. I would go for me 3-1 to Celtic.
3-1. All right. Listen, you make very good points. There's no a great deal of difference with the team I've picked. I've obviously the same back five picks itself, and I've went for Iwata, McGregor, and O'Reilly in the middle of the park. And weirdly, the front three is the one that's causing the most debate, and I thought it would have maybe been the midfield, but we're all in agreement with that. But the front three, Stevens went with Owen, Haksabanovic. Obviously, Jota's in there. You've went with Jota and Haksabanovic. I've brought Maeda. I've said Maeda, Kyogo, and Jota. But I totally get you. I never really gave that a thought. But the fact it's a tight part in that, I totally get that. In terms of Stephen, you brought in Bernaby again. Fair enough. I'm going with Taylor. I understand what you are saying. You would like him to get another Taylor to get another week just to have a wee bit more time just to rest up. I think 2 weeks is probably enough. I want Taylor to come in and play a game before he plays Rangers. I want him to get him a 90 minutes under his belt to see how he is, how he's got to feel after it. Hopefully he's got to be okay. Ange says he's okay. You don't know what's going to happen, but the injury that he had, I don't envisage that flaring up because Ange has obviously been given the assurance that he's got to be okay. But I mean, again, it goes with
I know. Mark, I'm not even responding to it. No.
Is Mark on the videos?
Mark's on sudden. He's flying high here.
I love it, man. But it pays to the fact. Again, we've got players out, Hatate and Moy, but we're still happy with our teams. They're good enough. The team is still good enough to win that game. And I'm in agreement with you, Stephen. I've went 3-1 Celtic. But we'll see what happens on Sunday. Again, I'll go back to it. I want us, if we win that game, it's the perfect setup to go into the Rangers game, win that, and the league's done. But that brings us to the end of the podcast. We're 2 hours and 8 minutes in. It's a wee start. Well, I've not got a quiz. I've not got a who am I or anything like that because I just couldn't be fucked, man. Couldn't be arsed. But a wee bit of fun at the end, just because it's happening tomorrow night. I'm a massive fan of him, as Franny will know, and Stephen will know as well. I love Anthony Joshua. I've loved him for years, for the start, for the Olympics.
What a prick.
I love him to bits. But just for a bit of fun, he's fighting Franklin tomorrow night. So we've done the predictions for the Celtic game. I want predictions for this. My prediction is Joshua to win by knockout in round 5. Franny, what's yours?
I'm going 3 third round. I think he does it early, mate.
KO third round?
Aye. I think he comes back with a vengeance like the big man.
I hope he comes back with that ruthless, killer instinct.
But proper, when he hit somebody hurt, he was the best at taking them out.
Aye, I want him to bring that back because if he brings that back,
He's a
and he
danger
gets
to the
a
heavyweight
win
division.
I think he takes out Tyson Fury. I really do. But that's another story. No many folk will agree with me on that. Stephen, what's your prediction for that fight tomorrow?
Much like Brunswick Nugget,
Fury.
Joshua, who gives a fuck? I don't like the fella. I think he's a showman. I think he's a charlatan. I think he's just his physique's great, but he's got a glass jaw. Proved that in the last couple of fights. Then he got beat. He shouldn't be anywhere near a world title fight ever again in his career because people who lose boxing fights don't necessarily challenge again. I'm not the biggest boxing fan. Couldn't give a flying.
I just asked for a prediction, no for a fucking character assassination.
I just think he's a fraud to me. Absolute fraud. His last fight that he lost in his wee speech in the ring. Do me a favour, will you? Throwing your toys in the pram, crying like a
you got the ability to take him out of the
crying like a wee bitch. That's fair enough. I mean, crying like a wee bitch. Just don't like him. Don't care if he wins. We'd love it if he gets beat. Tyson Fury for me is the king of boxing.
Right, but what's your prediction for tomorrow night before we fall out?
He's got to go Franklin, isn't he?
Franklin round one.
Of course he is. Fucking knob.
Called it.
Round
love you, Ross.
One.
You know I love you.
I know. Listen, that's the end of the podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed it right up to that last minute, and I've got the fire rage in my belly. But did you enjoy it?
It was
good. Loved it.
Aye.
Fridays
I can't believe it's. I was obviously like, what was that for Annie? Sorry.
Fridays are a different gravy altogether.
Oh, mate, I was like obviously taking notes and setting it up and that last night, and I was like, try and keep this down a wee bit, man. I didn't want it to be 2 hours in the morning. I'm quite tired, and then it's just like we just go off on a tangent because half of what we spoke about tonight, I never intended talking about.
Joshua now.
What's that?
See, his painting, his canvassing. Joshua, it's Anthony Joshua with a mohawk.
For fuck's sake.
Oh, fuck. Ross has been brilliant.
Listen, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed hosting. It's the first time I've hosted for a wee while. But thoroughly enjoyed it. And I just want to thank everybody for staying with us for as long as what they have. And, excuse me, I just, like, I'm not really into all that shite, and I'm genuinely know some folks say they are, and they are, but if you've enjoyed it, hit like, subscribe. Aye, honestly, just do it, because we were growing for a while, but we've been sort of stuck on, I'm not sure of the exact number, I think it's 1.2, but Anthony will tell us in the chat tomorrow morning once he watches this back. But that's the end of the podcast. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks very much for contributing and being on with me. It's been superb. And I'm not even going to leave the pleasantries to you tonight, Stephen. I'm going to say my wee thing. Good night. God bless. Love yous.